Hi everyone, and welcome to TWF Monday Night Raw, or Monday Night Raw. I, Michael Cole, with Pat McAfee and the Jackal here, and today on Monday Night Raw, or Monday Night Raw, we're going to have a good show. As you know, Chris Jericho is still doing his things to Braun Strowman. They had a match yesterday on Power and Might. Braun Strowman beat Austin Theory, so we know that Chris Jericho is prolonging his war with Braun Strowman, Michael Cole says. Yeah, well, Chris Jericho wasn't known for being that wise. His game goal was to strike Braun Strowman from behind yesterday in his match with Austin Theory, and that didn't go very well. Hey, Chris Jericho is highly wise, one of the well-known, on-looked wrestlers from the settled land. You know, there's a ground why Chris Jericho is still wrestling to this day, because he knows what he's doing. He's got a game goal. He knows what he's doing. You know, and sooner or later Braun Strowman's gonna fall for it, the Jackal says. Well, that could be true, Michael Cole says, but I'll tell you one thing right now. If I Chris Jericho, I hope Chris Jericho is watching out, because Braun Strowman is most likely going to come after him. And I only know one woman who's coming to the ring right now. It's Rhea Ripley. Alright, I can't stand up in the ring. Yeah, this is fun. This is fun. Stand up. Alright, Rhea Ripley says. I know, I was a former TWF women's heavyweight fighter, and I want that strap again. And I know that Gail Kim is on-looked for being a 9-time TWF women's heavyweight fighter. But I believe that, I can't stand up. I believe it's time for me to get back my strap. So, I know that I can beat the 7-time TNA women's heavyweight fighter, the 1-time WWE women's heavyweight fighter, the 1-time TNA women's tag team fighter, the TNA Hall of Onlooker, Gail Kim. I know I can do it. But can Gail Kim know that she can beat me? I don't think so. Well, here comes Gail Kim now. Yeah, I have been in a toy wrestling gathering since 23rd between FYL, which that makes a long time for me to be in a toy wrestling gathering. And I was the last TNA doll to ever get bought, you know. And yes, I did win the TNA Women's Heavyweight winnings 7 times. Yes, I did win the WWE Women's Heavyweight winnings once. Yes, I was a 1-time TNA Women's Tag Team Fighter. You were right about that, Rhea Ripley. But I am a 9-time TWF Women's Heavyweight Fighter. I'm about a 3-time TWF Women's Tag Team Fighter. Hell, I even won the TWF Pennsylvania Allegheny Share winnings at least 2 times. I think I was even a former TWF heavyweight fighter. I'm not here to say that I've done a lot more in the skilled wrestling business than you did, Rhea, because we all know it's not how long you've been in it, it's not what you did in it, it's not what you did lately, it's not what you did in the past, it's what you did lately everyone talks about. And yes, Rhea Ripley, I will give you your onlook. Yes, you were a former WWE NXT UK Women's Heavyweight Fighter. Even though you were from the Southern Land and not the 4-1 Kingdom, which I don't understand why that was, but whatever. You did great when you were in WWE NXT UK. You then won the WWE NXT Women's Heavyweight winnings when you were in NXT. Yes, you did go on and you did win the WWE Women's Heavyweight winnings when you were on Raw. Hell, you even did very well for yourself, and you even won the Women's World Heavyweight winnings 2 times. You were a former WWE Women's Tag Team fighter. But if you think that you're going to smoothly beat me, or I'm not going to put up a fight, then you will be sadly mistaken. Gil, I am not here to go to war with you. I am only here to wrestle you, to fight you. I have a lot of on-look, Gail Kim, for what you have done. In both your first run in WWE, your first run in TNA, your 2-diff run in WWE, your 2-diff run in TNA. I'm here to say you did very well. But I will beat you. I will be a 2-time TWF Women's Heavyweight fighter. And yes, it is true. All we need to do is get Astronema, the main overseer of leadership, or Daniel Bryan, the main overseer, to come out and make the match happen. Well, it seems to me that you two cannot yield for whatever. You can't yield for whatever. You couldn't yield for Sacrifice or Yielding or Wrestle Dream or whatever the next show we're going to do is. But I'm saying here today, we will, if you want, we will have the TWF Women's Heavyweight winnings on stake here when Gil Kim, the 9-time TWF Women's Heavyweight fighter, fights Rhea Ripley here today on Monday Night Raw or Monday Night Raw for the TWF Women's Heavyweight winnings. Meaning, well, looks like this match is going to start now. Michael Cole says, we just got to get the fight woman in the ring or whatever. Then make it happen, Michael Cole says. Yeah, well, we'll have to see how this all plays out, Pat McAfee says. It'll be the first time that Rhea Ripley has ever wrestled Gil Kim. It might be the first time that a WWE woman wrestler fought a TNA women's wrestler, or at least a WWE Mattel doll fight a TNA Jax doll, Pat McAfee says. And it's true, Gil Kim was the last TNA wrestler doll to ever get. You know. Yeah. The Jackal says, like everybody makes a big deal about that. You know, I had 2 runs in the TWF before this, and on my free diff run, and no one makes a big deal about me having free runs. You know, my head coming off 2 times. Big deal about Gil Kim being the last TNA wrestler doll to come here. The Jackal says, this match is for the TWF Women's Heavyweight winnings. First, she is from the folk wealth of the Southern Land, Rhea Ripley. And she is the TWF Women's Heavyweight fighter from the settled land, Gil Kim. Well, here's a little thing you should need to know, Michael Cole says, for any of you folks out there. Gil Kim is also both a burrower of the settled land and a burrower of the 4-1 rights. And Gil Kim just got her head cleaned right off, Michael Cole says. And Rhea Ripley picking up Gil Kim and body slamming her. There have been very few women wrestlers that can have the same kind of might that Rhea Ripley has had over the years. Yeah, Pat McAfee says we all saw what Chyna did during her run in WWE, Nicole Bass in ECW and WWF. We saw Beth Phoenix, what she did in OVW and W over the years. We see what Raquel Gonzalez does in WWE. And Rhea Ripley is right up there with those women wrestlers. Pat McAfee says, The Jackal says, but Gail Kim with a Settle Lander first and a 4-1 Riker 2-dip. And I don't really care which land she comes from. She isn't going to take down Rhea Ripley. It isn't going to happen. You know, Gail Kim, she's always had a hard time. All her matches in her first run WWE, her 2-dip run in first run TNA, her 2-dip run in WWE, and her 2th run in TNA were all making mistakes, losing to bigger wrestlers. And now Gail Kim right now taking down Rhea Ripley. Awesome Kong or Amazing Kong or Mighty Kong we'll call her. Always gave her a bind. Eat the feet. But no, Rhea Ripley wasn't going to fall for Eat the Feet. Riptide on Gail Kim. To Eat the Feet, Michael Cole says, a hold that Gail Kim did in her 2-dip run in WWE and prolonged it in her 2-dip run in TNA. Michael Cole says, well, Pat McAfee says, will Rhea Ripley get to beat Gail Kim here today on Monday Night Raw, Moon Night Raw, Pat McAfee says. Well, I hope so, the Jackal says. And then Rhea Ripley can say she beat Gail Kim and we'll never have to see her wrestle again. Would you stop? 1, 2. And only a kick out. Gail Kim somehow got out of that. But Rhea Ripley's not minding. And she did it to her again. And this time it's over. 1, 2, 3. Ding, ding, ding. Here is your winner. And the new TWF Women's Heavyweight Fighter, Rhea Ripley. Well, Rhea Ripley, or also known as Rhea Bloody Ripley, has beat Gail Kim, and now she is now a 2-time TWF Women's Heavyweight Fighter. And Gail Kim has nothing to be ashamed of. She had a great match with Rhea Ripley. So Gail Kim has nothing to feel ashamed of when it comes to the match she did, Michael Cole says. No, she has nothing to be ashamed of, Pat McAfee says. She gave it her all against Rhea Ripley. And some would have thought if she would have done the Eat the Feet, most likely she would still be the TWF Women's Heavyweight Fighter, Pat McAfee says. I tell you what, the Jackal says, Gail Kim does have a lot to feel, ashamed of. She talks about how she was the greatest woman wrestler to ever wrestle in WWE and TNA and whatever. And then when she wins her the TWF Women's Heavyweight winning for, the 9th time, and loses it to Rhea Ripley. So I guess that doesn't make her the greatest anymore, the Jackal says. You always got some mean thing to say, Pat McAfee says. You never got anything kind to say. You're like Corey Graves and Booker T and Taz and Aiden English and Wade Barrett and Clarence Mason and Paulie Dangerously. Never got anything kind to say about anyone, Pat McAfee says. Yeah, when you're a heel, you gotta say heel as shit. The Jackal says. And by the way, all of them all those folks you say, they wish they could be as good as me, Pat, the Jackal says. Well, we don't need to get another fight between you, Pat and Jackal. Not at all. We're here to talk about Rhea Ripley and how she had her match with Gail Kim. And now we're going to have, Jonathan Coachman. Thank you, Michael Cole. I'm going to be talking with Rhea Ripley here today on Monday Night Raw, or Moon Night Raw, the new 2-time TWF Women's Heavyweight Fighter. Stand up. Stand up. Oh, I gotta put a stand because she can't stand up on here. Go in. Alright. Sorry, my hand don't go break. Oh, stand. Alright. Rhea Ripley, we saw you have your match with Gail Kim. and now you're now a two-time TWF Women's Heavyweight fighter. How do you feel about that? Well, Jonathan Coachman, it feels great being the TWF Women's Heavyweight fighter for the 20th time. And no, I'm not going to go take anything away from Gail Kim, you know, because she was a good women's wrestler, and she did do a lot of good in both WWE and in TNA. So I'm not going to knock her for any of that. You know, but if she wants to have another match with me, then I am open-minded for having another match with her. So you're giving Gail Kim an open dare to take you back on the T for another shot for the TWF Women's Heavyweight winnings. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Jonathan Coachman. That's what I'm saying. Gail, I think you're one hell of a great wrestler, and I believe that if you want to have another match with me, then I'll be ready for it. But you're just going to but keep in mind, you're going to lose to me like you did the last time. Alright, that's my talk. That's my talk with Rhea Ripley. Back to you, Michael Cole. Well, thank you, Jonathan Coachman, for talking with Rhea Ripley here today on Monday Night Raw or Monday Night Raw. And that's all the time we got here for Monday Night Raw, Monday Night Raw. I, Michael Cole, with Pat McAfee and the Jackal. We hope you like Monday Night Raw or Monday Night Raw, and we'll see you tomorrow for NXT.